it's actually incredibly simple. It was incredibly simple for me to reflect on and pull back on and start to map out exactly what it is you need to do. And it's not that much. If you cannot confidently own your dreams, how the fuck do you expect to have them? They're just going to be a fantasy up in your mind. Welcome to the Start Somewhere podcast, the show where we empower females through mindset and manifestation. My name is Isabel Prestia and I'm your host. Every Monday, I inspire you with an episode to show you how to attract your dream life. Make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. It's time to start somewhere together. Hey friends, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Isabel Prestia. This is Start Somewhere, the podcast. This is a place where we speak all on mindset, manifestation, meditation, magnetic energy, and so many other topics in between. I have felt very called to record a podcast straight from the heart today. Not that my other podcasts aren't, but I don't have a general plan per se to follow in this episode, but it's been something that I've wanted to sit down and record. I'm not sure if you can hear it in my voice or not, but yeah, I've got some pretty powerful, profound, and shocking, I'm going to say, topics to talk about, updates to share with you guys. And we're just going to go straight into it. So I firstly want to start by giving thanks to everybody who tunes into the show, who supports us weekly. Maybe you come once a month and catch up, whatever it may be. Whether this is your first time listening, whether you've listened to a handful, or whether you've been a long time listener of the show, I just want to say that I honestly give you such a big hug. I appreciate your downloads. I appreciate your support. If it wasn't for your continuous support since 2020, guys, this platform has been up and running since 2020. I still wouldn't really see the motivation or have the motivation to sit down and record. So thank you so much to you, to this exact person who has chosen to click play and listen to the episode. I really want to talk about a topic that I have been sharing a lot more about. If you follow me on Instagram, if you're in my Facebook group, or if you're just in my world somehow online. And that is all about the mindset you need to attract your dream life. And I want to preface by firstly saying, no, not even preface. I want to bring up a topic before I get into this really expansive, exciting, flourishing, fruitful concept, right, of attracting your dream life. Now, we talk a lot about manifestation on the podcast, but what happens when we manifest something and we get it, but then we start to doubt if it's something that we actually want anymore? Now, I'm sure I'm not the only person who has experienced this or who at least has thought this. And I think it's a really interesting shift to observe. And I really think it can be viewed at, perspective is everything, right? I really think it can be viewed at in so many different lenses. It's just up to you to decide which one, what lens that essentially is for you. And the reason I'm sharing this is because, as I just mentioned, I want to talk about the mindset to attract your dream life. And I'm really changing a lot of my brand, a lot of my business, a lot of the services I offer, I should say more so. So whether you're a new listener or you've been here for a bit, so whether you know my journey or not, I was doing marketing coaching. Notice how I said was. So I started that around March or April of 2022, and I was doing that pretty much consistently. I was working with one-on-one clients. I did a group coaching container at one point. I created an online program all on turning your side hustle into a profit. However, one-to-one coaching was my main focus, right? And then I got to a point around the end of last year where I not even the end of last year, more the start of this year, where I don't even know what the pinnacle point was, but I just realized that as much as I adore one-to-one coaching and connecting with all the clients I've worked with in the past and all the ones I continue to attract and bring into my world, it just wasn't my number one thing anymore. And it's really interesting because I so easily could recognize or have this thought and immediately think something was wrong with me. Immediately think that I'm wrong for thinking or feeling this way. And immediately think that it's just not safe for me to feel or think this way. And I think it's really cool that I've gotten to such a point in my mindset and my self-awareness. Whoa, my self-awareness right now is like really heightened. And it's really cool because I can see how the old me would have handled or even just like judged certain thoughts, right? However, now I'm at a point where I'm like, there's no judgment at all. I'm just accepting it and being like, cool, let's give it love. Let's move on. What's next? And it's a really, really interesting period of life I'm in right now. I don't want to make it a big deal. I don't want to call it this transition phase or anything like that because it definitely is not that per se. Like, I don't even think it deserves that title. But I'm really just observing like what is happening and what is going on in my mind right now. And bear with me in this. I'm really going to shine the light on what to do when you manifest something and maybe you're like, is this what I want anymore? Or are these thoughts safe to have? And I think what you really need to remind yourself of is releasing that judgment on yourself, releasing that judgment on your thought, and trusting that it's what you wanted once upon a time, and it's so okay for things to tweak and adapt. Because, like, for example, if we have a certain vision in our minds that we want to draw in, and we get to that point, and maybe it's not as we thought it would be, or it's just not, it's not it, right? It's just not it. However, there's some kind of lesson or something or other happens when you get to that point that then propels you into another direction. So it's like, do you see this pathway, this journey essentially we're going on? It's like a map. And I think you just have to, like, trust has been such a huge theme, I want to say, actually, in a lot of the episodes recently, in my life at the moment, in every way, shape or form. Because having complete self-trust in yourself, and then also having complete trust that your journey is unfolding exactly as it should be. And you are in the exact right position you should be. And it's so easy. It's a habit. It's easier to compare ourselves to people online and what we see. I'm sure I'm not the only person who we're scrolling through social media and we see people get engaged and married and buying houses and having babies. And then we see people traveling the world and being a nomad and living their best life. And then we see people buying their investment properties or buying their own home. And then we see people at home saving money. And then we see people at uni. Like, there's just so many different variations I could list right now. I think the main thing you have to remind yourself of is there is no cookie cutter, one size fits all as to what we should be doing in this lifetime. And as soon as we can like drop that pressure, like, I know myself, the amount of pressure I put on myself is something I didn't really realize I was doing until I really kind of reached this new self-awareness state in my life. And now I can quite easily recognize, I'm like, okay, is this just that pressure thing I'm doing again? Like, am I just thinking I need to hurry up and I'm not where I should be? But it's like, as soon as we can pull the lens back, drop into the now, drop into our current body, wherever you're sitting, standing, walking, running, and just acknowledge and be more present in your current surroundings, right? And if you're looking at your surrounding right now, and you're just like, this isn't it. This is not it. Surely this can't be it. Maybe you're bored, you're unfulfilled, you're in an office that you don't want to be in, you're in a certain house or room where it just doesn't light you up. You're in a city that feels boring. You're in a relationship where you feel trapped. Don't judge. It's okay to have those thoughts. And it's okay to want more. And owning you want more is the first step and also the hardest step, because we can just so easily and flimsily throw around that saying, oh yeah, I wouldn't mind being a millionaire and I want this car, and insert any other fantasy dream thing you want, I'm all for it. But until we can be intentional with that and be like, I want it, but I'm also going to get it. I'm also going to do everything I can right now to get there. And it's like, it's not as much as being given the thing you want. It's the journey that you take to get to where it is you want to be. Yeah, lotteries and prizes and that kind of stuff exists, and someone can give you $20,000 or a new car or keys to a new home. That exists. That's not the reality for many people, to be so honest. However, imagine the feeling if it was you that got you to your new car, to your dream car, to that new house on that holiday. It was you who got there. Therefore, it's what we want is the experience to getting there. It's the feeling we get from having the thing. It's not always just about the thing. Of course it is to an extent. I mean, we want something, right? And a want is something that is outside of us. We don't have it. I want more money. I want to look a certain way. I want to lose weight. It's all these things we don't have. Therefore, we want them. But it's what it takes to get those things. Like that little piece there is something we need to really just extend and put so much more focus, love, attention, and care on. Because you're just going to be so much more grateful, so much more fulfilled. It's going to hit home in such a way where you can't listen about it, where you can't read about it in a book or listen to it on a podcast. It's something you need to experience yourself. And as humans, we crave that experience, that connection, that the journey, the emotions. Like we are spiritual, emotional beings. And we need to have all of those senses essentially ticked and fulfilled. And coming back to what I was saying not too long ago about manifesting something and being like, is this actually what I want? You know, you finally get all these things that you want, or everything finally starts to fall into place. And you're like, wait a minute, do I even want this? Do I want the other thing? Wait, no, that looks better than what I have now. The grass looks greener over there. The grass is green where you water it. Plain and simple. I reckon I said that in the very first episode of this podcast. The grass is green where you choose to water it. And so what I want you to do is pull back and think of big picture thinking as just such a common theme. Ever since January, that's just really been playing in my mind, and really just kind of observing yourself from yourself, right? So whether you are quite a visual person or not, can you honestly imagine whatever you're doing right now, you're driving, you're walking, you're sitting, can you imagine a bird's eye view of yourself? Like you're looking down on yourself. We need big picture thinking right now, right? Because when we are attracting our dream life, it's so easy to get caught up in the nitty gritty, the finer, tiny details. And by getting caught up in that, we get overwhelmed, we get fearful, therefore we procrastinate, therefore it doesn't happen. But if we can live from a place with just such a big, broad imagination and vision, and just such a almost unrealistic, delusional state, bear with me, this is the starting point. Being so delusional in your dreams and fantasies. If your dream isn't big enough where people think you are crazy for thinking it, your dream is not big enough. You're playing it way too small, because firstly, there is no time to worry what people think of you and your dream. It's you and your dream. Imagine if you just had to take one more step to get there, to your dream life, whatever that may be, but there was some random friend from back in high school, or some cousin, or some family member, or just some random person in your social media that you were way too concerned about what they thought, that stopped you from getting that. Are you going to let that happen? So where was I going with this whole tangent? I was having this conversation with my mum the other day, a part of what I just shared. And I was telling her how I think of what I want and then I eventually get there, whether it takes days, weeks, years, whatever it may be. And I'm like, and then I get there and then I start to question, is this what I want? And she's like, Isabel, you like the thrill of getting what you want. It's the journey. It's the chase. It's the, you have an end goal and you're doing what you can to get there. It's that drive. It's that motivation. I'm like, if that doesn't sum me up, I don't know what does. And it really just brought some things into perspective. And coming back to this big picture analogy here, what is really helping me and what I really want you to do is think of what your values are in life. And these are things such as freedom, flexibility, fun, connection, deep meaning, passion, whatever it is that just really lights you up. And to give examples, my current, and these can change over time, guys, my current values are freedom and connection. And it's really interesting because, we're picking words that are quite broad, and then we, of course, give our own meaning. Like my definition of connection is most likely very different to your definition. So it's whatever you decide that means to you. And I think it's really important that we can have these words, and they're kind of like blanket terms. They're quite big and broad. They can cover a big array of other words. Like, for example, I think I shared in one of my early episodes of this year, my word for the year is lush. It still very much is lush. And I really had to define what that meant to me. And it wasn't until I defined it, I started to get more connected to it. And I started to embody it more. And to me, when I was defining lush, it was self-care, it was balance, it was nourishment, it was luxurious, it was bougie, it was class, it was all these different words and meanings. And as soon as I started to really make it clear, I was like, oh my God, how can I start to embody lush? It's always having a really nice manicure. It's getting a massage once a month. It's always taking care of my skin and my hair. It's doing these things. It's, having these really classy experiences. Like whatever it means to you, like that's my current season in life right now. And so coming back to these value terms, freedom and connection, I was like, okay, what do these mean to me? And that's what I want you to do. Think of that. I know freedom is something so many of us want and crave, right? And yet again, this can be time freedom, financial freedom. I want you really to define that. And I'm going to share with you why it's so important, because I didn't do this one time and I didn't get what I wanted. So last year, and very much the same as we are today as I'm recording this, a big desire of mine was stability. So context, I just left a comfortable, reliable, full-time marketing job. So getting that, really nice cushion income. And I'd stepped out on my own to do my own thing. I was doing freelance marketing to get me by. I was doing odd other jobs here and there. I was just kind of doing a whole bunch of different things to get myself by financially. And I very much knew that, when you start a business, it's the sacrifice you take. Like I did an episode all on sacrifice recently. That really hit home. Definitely go listen to that after this episode. And I realized okay, this is just a part of it. It's like the first 12 months, it's okay. It is what it is. And so I was like, okay, stability is the goal. Stability is the name of the game. Stability is what I'm driving towards. And guys, this is why you need to be specific. So I just used stability as a blanket term. I didn't define exactly what that meant. However, I was reflecting on this not even that long ago, and I was saying to somebody, I don't remember who, I was telling them the story, and I said that I got stability in every area of my life, but financial stability. And I truly think that's because I wasn't clear enough. And so the universe heard me. They're like, cool, she wants stability, let's give that to her. And it gave it to me in different ways. But I wasn't super crystal clear that I actually meant financial stability. And that's not saying that it's not here, that it's not coming. Of course it's coming and it's here and it's on the way to me. But I wish I said that more specifically at the beginning. But of course, there's no bad or wrong that happened, because what actually happened to me was the best thing that ever happened to me. Is I found stability, and I have stability in every area of my life, in my mental health, in my emotions, spiritual stability, health stability, fitness stability. Like I know I'm so balanced overall, and I fucking love that about myself. I'm owning that and I'm proud of that, because that's something I've been working on for over 12 months. And I remember so clearly, I know I've shared this story somewhere before. It was around this time last year as well when I really set out to say all this. And I was feeling very uneasy and concerned and said every other confused thought under the sun. And I bought a monthly yoga pass to one of my favorite studios here in Adelaide. It's called Humankind. And I was in one of the very first classes of like the month. And the teacher, it's such a beautiful studio. And one of the classes, the teacher was setting the intention for the class, and it was all on stability. And I just remember it was such a, like, I just needed to be in that space at that time. It was like just such a deep, profound kind of like wave of emotions that fell over me. And it was like, we need to start internal before we can see it manifest in the external. And so that whole month really just anchored in my stability from within. And ever since that month, so February last year up until very much now, Feb, March, April now, I've got stability in my mental health, with my spiritual stability, with my health and fitness stability, with my emotions. And I think I would take all of that any day over financial stability to begin with, because if somebody gives you $1 million right now, but they said you're going to have chronic depression, no friends, you're going to feel incredibly alone, and you're not going to love your life, but you're going to have $1 million in the bank, I really hope people would decline that $1 million if it meant having all those things, because what's the point? That's the same as getting given $1 billion today, but you're going to die next week. Happiness and health and love and having great mental health and great emotional stability is, I believe anyway, is everything. Of course, people can have their differences, but I know a lot of you guys listening, and of course myself, that's not the hat we want to wear. And so the reason I'm sharing all this is, be specific, but then secondly, look what actually worked out for me in the long run. So now I've got all of those hats under my belt, and now I'm like, okay, now I'm going to be more clear. It is financial stability. And it's so easy yet again to have this dream life, this big vision, but unless we can align ourselves to getting to the steps to take, we're not going to get to where it is we want to go. And so this brings me back to how I started the episode on the mindset you need to attract your dream life. So I know this episode will be up a little bit after I have already done this, but I really just wanted to dedicate more love and more time to this topic, because this is what I'm going to be sharing a lot more of with the direction of Start Somewhere and myself and my brand and my business. And that is all about what the steps are to take to courageously launch into the dreams and to courageously launch into the life of your dreams. And as I really was sitting down and getting clear on what this looked like, it's actually incredibly simple. It was incredibly simple for me to reflect on and pull back on and start to map out exactly what it is you need to do. And it's not that much. And it got me really excited, and it's just the most aligned next chapter for me to really teach and share more on this topic. And I'm going to shine the light on what a few of these are in this episode, because you guys are my podcast fam and I appreciate you so much. And I've created 2 pillars. That's it. 2 pillars to follow. This is your mindset, and the second pillar is all about manifesting. And when you combine these 2 pillars together, of course, with the sense of repetition and consistency, you're going to launch into your dream life way sooner than you expect. And this is a proven process that I have been actively creating, working, tweaking on for over 6 years. This isn't something I just thought of yesterday and decided to share today. It's something that I've been honestly living and breathing and walking for years, right? And I want to shine the light on 2 of these topics at the moment. So there's the 2 pillars, and I want to share the light on 2 of the topics in the mindset pillar. And that is clarity and confidence. So at a glance, these 2 topics are essential when growing your mindset to attract your dream life. So we start with mindset first, because unless you've got the mindset work, you're not going to manifest what it is you want. And let me preface, you don't need to believe in manifestation, because we're doing it all the time regardless. It's just how much intention you put behind it that is then going to predict how much is going to project you forward, right? So you can blindly and autopilot go through your life manifesting that kind of thing. Or you can do it with intention and power and be more potent and just get and to launch there, right? To launch into that dream life. That's what this whole entire model and what I'm really going to be sharing so much more about is all on. So exciting. So exciting. So the thing is, without clarity in what you want, stepping forward to bring your dream life into a reality is going to feel overwhelming, challenging, and confusing. So like I shared before, we're getting caught up on those itty bitty tiny details, what those little steps are, every single one from 1 to 20. Like that's going to be overwhelming as fuck, right? And then secondly, if you don't feel confident about owning what it is you want, how on earth are you going to find the motivation to get there? If you cannot confidently say, I want XYZ to somebody in your life, whether they're an acquaintance or a friend, how are you going to get there? And I'm saying this from past experience because I would really play it down with what it is I wanted. I wouldn't even tell all my friends what I wanted. I would be so particular because I didn't feel confident to say it. I would not own it. It felt weird. It felt icky. It felt uncomfortable. I felt like, who the fuck am I to say this? Am I like, what are they going to think of me? They're going to think I'm delusional. They're going to think I'm in a fantasy world. They're going to think I'm weird. They're going to think I'm not practical. Like these were all the thoughts that were going through my mind, guys. And it wasn't until I could honestly just banish all of them, like cut them down with the sword and just really start to own exactly what it is I wanted. And don't get me wrong, it was not something that just happened overnight and I could just walk along and say this to anybody that I met. Like it took practice, right? I started with me believing in it. Like if you don't believe in it, you're not going to feel confident to tell people. If you're downplaying things in your life, like, oh, I just do this thing or I just do this little thing, like don't use the words just or little or like just don't downplay who you are and what you do. Own it. Because how you see yourself is how other people are going to see yourself. And I'm really starting to see that like even more coming back, like the whole self-awareness. Like I do view myself as this confident person and I'm meeting people who say, you're confident. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm not surprised because I see myself as that. But once upon a time, I was like the shyest person to exist. Guys, I was too scared to ask where the bathrooms were at a restaurant. I didn't always used to be this way. So if you cannot confidently own your dreams, how the fuck do you expect to have them? They're just going to be a fantasy up in your mind, right? How is the universe going to believe in you too? So these are like two crucial points to really start to dive in on. And this process, I make it so light and so fun and so fulfilling. And whether you're a client of mine listening or whether you follow me on Instagram or whether you just see the results that my clients get or just the feedback from our sessions, it's so much of like this lightness, this energizing space, like this clarity, this high energy and lightness is like such a big theme. And that's exactly what I give you in this whole entire process. It's such a light, fun, playful approach. Like whether you can tell or not, or whether you've listened for a bit or not, like I'm a very playful, lighthearted person. Like I don't take many things seriously, to be honest. But at the same time, I know how to get to where it is you want to go. Like I have that level of seriousness within me, but I just think the approach there doesn't have to be like mundane and boring. So yeah, I'm so like beyond excited. Like I need better words to explain this, but it's just going to be such an exciting, special chapter. And if you want to learn the exact 2-pillar strategy that is going to take you from fantasy in your mind to your current living, breathing, walking reality, the Start to Leap Mastermind, this is the name of the program, you get lifelong access. It's a manifesting and mindset accelerator to help you attract, build, and grow your aligned and fulfilling dream life. Making something aligned is crucial, right? Because we may get there and then it may feel not right. So I've really made it such an effort to ensure that it's an aligned life that we're working towards. So this is going to be, as it says in the title, a mastermind. And mastermind essentially means it's a group program, but it's self-paced. So there is a portal of endless videos, all the mindset and manifestation. You go at your own pace. But of course, because it's so easy for us to forget about things and this gets in the way, once a month, I'm going to be doing a live group Q&A call. So with all the women who are involved, whether you're available to join in live or watch the replay, Once a month, I'm going to be jumping in there. We're going to be having a really cozy, fun group coaching call. You can ask any and all of your questions to do with mindset and manifestation. And it's just such a fun way for all of us to connect, to see each other's faces, people, women from all over the globe. It's going to be just such a growing, expansive community. I can feel it in my heart. And there are so many other exciting inclusions, a quarterly planning session to reset and review your goals and manifestations, a community like I shared, a Facebook group. Oh my gosh, there is this mega journal prompt manual. So covering almost any topic in life you can think about. So many journal prompts, a bunch of bonus content, including guided meditations and meditations, affirmations, and honestly, so much more. The best thing is guys, every time I learn a new mindset and manifesting technique that works, I share it instantly with you guys. So this is think of this as your lifelong manifesting bestie. So you'll be on your way to living your dream life sooner than you could ever expect. And the price right now, I've made it so damn affordable. I just want this to be such a place for so many of you guys to get into. It's definitely going to increase in the future, but you guys, my podcast community and just my audience for the next few months, it is going to be $397. Guys, that is a one-time payment for lifelong access, and this is going to go up to over $1,000 as the time goes on. But because I'm essentially starting a whole new chapter, and I want to make this as attainable and possible for everybody. I'm not gatekeeping any of this information. I really just want everybody to learn this, because when more people can start to learn this, it's this really beautiful ripple effect. And think of this, I mentioned, it's your lifelong manifesting bestie, lifelong access to myself and my mind and my insights. And, if you get value from the podcast, you're going to get 10 times, 100 times more value in a paid program. And that's just not the fact you're paying, but it's the whole energetic piece behind it. You're putting more, you're going to give more focus and attention to it, right? Whether you've invested in some kind of online course or program or mentor before, I trust you that you will notice and feel some kind of shift when you have actually paid dollars for something opposed to tuning into something for free. And what I mean by this is the results you're going to get. If you get value from some things I say on the podcast, imagine the results you're going to get from something you've put a few $100s behind. So I'm going to include all the fun details in the show notes of this podcast episode. And of course, ask me any questions on Instagram. If we're not connected yet, definitely slide in the DMs and say, hey, my handle is Isabel Prestia. That's all in the show notes as well. And this is just going to be such an exciting, expansive journey. Just think of this as we're all essentially going in this rocket and just flying straight to our dream life. And whatever your dream life looks like to you, it can change, it can pivot. It most likely will change and pivot, which I think is exciting. I speak a lot about that in the program. But it's going to be unreal. And this is something you are definitely going to want to get your hands on while it is this affordable price. As I mentioned, it's going to go up to well over $1,000, if not by this time next year. So definitely jump in now while it is at the very first launch price. It's going to be so exciting, so exciting. I just can't stop feeling and expressing that and saying that so much. So if you got to the end of the episode, I appreciate you guys so much. I would love it as well if you could pretty please leave our podcast a 5-star rating and review on whichever platform you love to tune into, whether it's Spotify, I'm pretty sure you can just leave a star rating, or Apple Podcasts, you can actually leave a few words in the feedback section. I get to see who does it. So I'll reach out to you and say hey and say thank you. And maybe I'll give you a little something special as well if I do see your name. So maybe that's a fun incentive. But I'm going to love you and leave you there, guys. I hope you have a beautiful morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever it is you chose to listen to us on the podcast. And I'm going to chat with you in our next episode. Bye, guys.